Pokemon 151 is finally out here in the States, and I want to talk about it. Thing is, I already have. We've already done our top 10 list, our top 10 sleepers lists, and I actually stand by both of those lists. We did them a few weeks ago, and I think that they hold up. I wouldn't change a single thing about them. So go check those out. Link in the description if you haven't seen them yet. But there is one more thing I want to talk about in terms of this set, and that is some of these prices. Namely, the high ones, both why they're so high and whether or not they're going to get even higher or crash on down. It's only been a couple of days since the set's been out here in America, and the prices, as you expect with pretty much any collectible card game product, are starting to go down a little bit now that the set is being opened up here in the States. And as the set gets more opened up here in the States, I imagine a lot of these prices are going to go down. Spoiler alert. Wanted to save that for the end of the video, but I think it's important to go ahead and let you know now that in case you didn't know, most of the prices we're going to look at today will probably be lower a week from now, but it's nice to go ahead and get a baseline of what these cards are expected to go for. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about the top 10 most expensive cards in Pokemon 151 at time of release, starting with an honorable mention, because you know how I like to do things around here. In case you don't, welcome to the channel. I like honorable mentions, especially when they're Dragonair. It's one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. Little dev lore here. I like Dragonair way more than I like Dragonite. Apparently other people are vibing with that because Dragonair is one of the more expensive cards in the set. He's only $14 for the illustration rare. And illustration rares tend to be kind of expensive. And Dragonair is no different, but this is a gorgeous card. Now, ultimately, I expect this to go down just a little bit, but probably hold steady around this $10 mark. Whether or not you want to pick up a copy is really all about A, whether or not you like Dragonair enough, whether you like this art enough, B, and C, whether you think the card is going to go up in the long run. I think that years from now, a lot of these illustration rares from these last few sets probably will eventually go up. But if you are going to get the card for that purpose expressly, I would wait for it to go down a little bit more before you do that. Let's take a look at the actual list here, starting with number 10, another illustration rare, but it's actually the last illustration rare on the entire list. It's Charmander, which makes a good amount of sense, right? Because a lot of people are going to be looking for this to stick it into the Charizard decks. Of course, this is going to be high. This is a lot of people's favorite Pokemon, too, let's be honest. Charizard is always going to be a pretty pricey card. This set is no different. So Charmander usually follows that same trend. $16 for a copy of this is not so bad, and I'm actually not sure that it goes too far down from that, but it probably does. Again, I think this set is going to be opened and opened and opened even more, a lot more actually, than the average Pokemon set. So again, I'd kind of sit on some of these prices. I fully expect the vast majority of these to go down, but this Charmander is going to be sought after a few years on from now, so it might be worth picking up right now. Also helps that it's an illustration rare, and these are always just like really, really pretty. But we'll move on to number 9, which I'm going to kind of cheat here and just say the Muse. Not Jason Mewes from the Kevin Smith universe, but Muse. There's Mew EX, the gold one, and the full art rare are both about $21 right now, kind of fighting each other over who's going to have the higher price, but they're both around $21 in that ballpark right now. But the normal, quote-unquote normal, Mew EX is about $16.50 right now to own a copy of this card. And this is obviously both competitively viable. A lot of decks playing this card right now. And B, a Mew, right? So it's kind of got the, original starters thing going for it. It's obviously not an original starter, but, there's Charmander, just the Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur line that everybody loves. And then there's Mew and Pikachu. And I feel like those are all, always going to be slam dunk popular Pokemon. Although it was interesting to me that the illustration rare Pikachu was not actually that expensive. I think it's like right around 10 or 12 bucks to pick up a copy of right now. It barely didn't make the list. But let's get back to Mew for a second. I don't know why I went on that tangent, but both the gold and full art Mew at $21, I actually think is about right. This card feels like about a $20 card to me, especially with how played it's going to be in multiple decks in terms of the TCG and just its collectability. Like the gold Mew is a freaking gold Mew, so you think that's going to be fairly sought after because there's a lot of just Mew collectors out there in Pokemon. So again, I think $20 is about where this card should be, but again, one more time, I'm not going to try to say this too often in this video, but you probably want to wait on these prices to go down. That said, I'm not sure this Mew is going to dip too far below 20 bucks, but I really hope that I'm wrong. Number 8 is the full art Charizard EX. It's 25 bucks right now, which is kind of good. I mean, I will say you kind of expect Charizards to be like 20, 25 bucks, like right when the set comes out, but then hold some value. That's a good thing about Charizards. They'll go down a little bit, but they will hold some portion of their value just by virtue of being a Charizard. So this card's no different. It's not the only time we'll see Charizard on this list, by the way. Get ready to see him a little bit later, but 25 bucks is a pretty good price for a Pokemon card. There are plenty of cards in the set that are more expensive than him, and for that, I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest with you, but 25 bucks is a pretty good price for a Pokemon card. There are whole sets in Standard right now where there's not a $25 card in the set. So for Charizard EX at 25 bucks, the full art version, to be the number 8 most expensive card in the set should tell you something. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Number 7 is the Erika's Invitation full art. Not the last time we'll see Erika's Invitation on this list either. You know, this is about 29, 30 bucks to buy right now, and it is a pretty good looking card. It's the most sought after trainer in the set. I think the next one after this is Giovanni's Charisma, which is like 11 bucks for the full art. And I actually think that is a bit of a steal. Maybe that's a thing to speculate on. The full art Giovanni's is a good card. But anyway, this is the card that's going to see the most competitive play in terms of supporters in this set. So it doesn't surprise me that it's here on the list. 30 bucks for a full art trainer of this caliber, a full art supporter of this caliber, I think is actually not the worst deal in the world. But again, this should cool down. Number 6 is Alakazam EX. Did you know this is $30 right now? Just beating out the Erika's Invitation by a single buck. And honestly, this is below some other cards from this set that I'm a little surprised that it's below, you know? Like, this has a fair amount of competitive viability, right? Or at least it appears to. It's got a really neat ability that we really haven't seen very often, if ever. Some people are saying that this is, you know, attacking from the bench is something we've like never seen. That's nuts. This game's been around for that long. We've never seen this kind of ability, but still, really, really neat ability. Again, looks somewhat competitively viable. And this, you know, art is incredible. It's a really, really beautiful art. And we haven't seen an Alakazam in what feels like a while either. So really cool card, competitively viable, great, great, great art on it too. So again, a little surprised that it's not slightly higher, but I'll have to repeat myself at least 1 to 6 more times in this video. This is 30 bucks now. It probably won't be 30 bucks next week. Which direction it goes in, I'm not too sure, but the percentage chance that it goes lower than 30 bucks is pretty high. But let's get to number 5. Maybe one of the cards that I feel is most likely to fall on this list, and that's Venusaur. Venusaur EX. This is $38 right now for the special illustration rare of this card. And I will say it is gorgeous. All of the sort of Bulba line in this set, you know, there's an Ivysaur that's a special illustration. And it is also gorgeous. It is very, very pretty. All of this whole line is. But Venusaur looks competitively viable, but I'm not sure that it actually is. And it also tends to be the original starter that lags behind in terms of, you know, collectability and price. And that will bear out on this list. It'll shake out pretty much exactly the way that you expect it to, with Venusaur on the tail end of price. And it's happening right now. You know, 30 bucks, $38 really isn't bad for this card. But I'm almost sure that's going to go down to like $25. Again, I think this will not only have the biggest chance of falling on this list, or one of the biggest chances of falling on this list, but it will probably fall the most, if I had to guess. This is not the price you want to buy this card at, but it is an interesting price to note, like a baseline for when the set first comes out. That's what this card's going for. A little surprised, but it makes some sense given what comes next. And that's Blastoise EX here at number 4. Again, you know, original starter is going to shake out pretty much the way you expect them to. It's Venusaur, Blastoise, Charizard, pretty much every time in terms of price hierarchy. That's what we're seeing here. You know, Blastoise EX is 40 bucks for the special illustration rare, and it's actually not the prettiest SIR in the world, but it is a pretty card, and Blastoise is always going to be worth something. 40 bucks doesn't quite seem like the right price. Again, let this set get open and see if this falls to like 25, 30 bucks, and then maybe pick up that copy, because this Blastoise, like most Blastoise that are, you know, competitively viable at all, and this one is, usually hold their value even outside of standard. So especially once the set goes out of print, Blastoises tend to sort of kind of come back up slowly but surely, and I think that this one may be very similar to that sort of, you know, line. So I'm always a fan of a Blastoise. I don't know that I want to pay $40 for it, but again, interesting where this is on the list in terms of price. But what is the top three here? Number 3 is Zapdos EX, the special illustration rare. This jumps all the way up to $47 to get your hands on a copy of this. A lot of people are talking about it too. Really helps out the Miraidon deck, but so does Mew EX. A lot of people are playing Mew EX in the Miraidon deck and like 4 other decks, and like that isn't $50 to get a copy of, but this Zapdos is it's a Zapdos. The original Thunderbirds are always going to be kind of pricey when they come in forms like this, and it is very competitively viable. A lot of people love Zapdos, and again, in terms of this card at least, this special illustration rare, the art is gorgeous, so I can see all those things kind of converging to make this card expensive, but $50 is just nuts high. Way too much to own a copy of this card right now, but here we are in the top 3. Zapdos leapfrogging, Venusaur, Blastoise, the first Alakazam in a while, a special illustration trainer, or full art trainer in Erika, a Charizard, the Muse, just above all of those cards, Zapdos. So I'm a little surprised by that. Number 2 is the special illustration rare, Erika's Invitation. I told you it wouldn't be the last time we saw this card on the list, and this is beautiful. Like, the color palette on this card is absolutely gorgeous. Not only is this the most competitively viable supporter in the set, but it's also far and away the prettiest art for a trainer in the set, bar none. I mean, it doesn't even come close to this on the scale of full art trainers and special illustrations and stuff like that. Just absolutely gorgeous card that is more than competitively viable. It's like a boss's orders that works for your opponent's hand, which is just kind of silly. It's a very silly card, a very impactful card. And it's gorgeous too. So I'm not surprised to see it up here at $52, sort of the outer limits of what, this kind of full art supporter should cost. And honestly, I think $50 is not a price that I would pay for any piece of cardboard, period, just about. But I mean, if you offer me a Black Lotus or something, I'm in, But most pieces of cardboard, especially in the Pokemon TCG, I wouldn't even come close to spending $50 on a single card, right? But I will say that this is probably right for people that are going to end up interested in this card. It could go down to $35. I could be very wrong about this, but again, the outer limits of what we expect a full art supporter to be, or special illustration supporter to be, are around $50, and this is already settling in around that price. But number 1, roll it, Sam. You knew it was going to be Charizard again. I've already told you you'd see the card again. Here he is, the special illustration rare. $105, worth more than double the number 2 card. Erika's Invitation's $52. This is worth $1 more than double that. And a lot of listings have this for $110, $115, so it could actually go higher than that, but then crash. I really don't think this is going to be a $100 card as early as next week, and next month, forget about it. There's just no, come on, man. You really expect this to be a 3-digit card and hold that price tag forever? Who knows, man? Probably not, but I will say that 151 looks like it's going to be a cherished, sort of legendary sort of set that people are still going to want to open and purchase sealed product for years and years from now. And if that is the case, then this Charizard, this version of this Charizard will always be the chase rare from this set. It's going to be sitting in sealed product, waiting to be opened. People that do buy sealed product will be hoping to order to open this card. So it's entirely possible that 5-10 years from now, this card isn't $100, it's $400, So I can understand wanting to invest in this, but I would really, just like I said with every single card on this list, but I think it's especially true of a card that's worth double all the other cards. That is a massive, massive red flag to me as a guy that's been playing collectible card games for 30 years. That should not hold. So maybe I'm wrong. I hope that I am not wrong. I don't want this card to be $100 for the next 2 years, but I really don't envision that actually happening. Give this 3 weeks and see what this price does. I'm very interested to see what happens. But that is all that we've got for this one. There are, again, some other expensive cards in the set. There's 6 other cards that are above $10 in this set. So this looks like an interesting set to open, I'll say that much. But some of the openings that I have seen on YouTube didn't inspire me very much to want to buy the set. I think that this is definitely one of those where I want to buy singles And if I am going to buy sealed product, I'll just buy an Elite Trainer box and sit on it for 10 years and sell it for, 5 times as much, because it turns out sealed product is almost always the actual best bet in cases like this, right? So so that's my advice. But again, very interested to see what these prices do in the coming weeks, especially considering this is going to be a cherished set, but that also means it's going to be a very opened set, in my opinion. So we'll have to really wait and see what happens, but let me know what you think is going to happen. What cards are going to go up, what cards are going to go down. It's always a fun discussion, so get at me in the comments. But aside from that, just do all the YouTube stuff, like the video, subscribe if you're new around here, you haven't done that yet. We have gotten to 1,000 subs, and I appreciate that. Still need a little bit of watch time to get to monetization, so I'm just glad that you're here. You're helping out massively by getting to this point in the video. But all that said, I am going to let you go at this point. You can go about your day, do whatever you were doing before I interrupted you. But in any case, I'm Dev from The Place. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you spread love and be kind.